All right, Christy, a year ago this time, we had interviewed Jess Lourey after reading her book, Unspeakable Things. And just last month, it was named to Library Journal's Best Crime Fiction of 2020 list, and Goodreads had listed it as one of their top reads as well.
Oh man, it was such a good book. And now, happy to say the prequel is out, Bloodline. Um, I'm thinking it's going to be a must-read book for 2021. What do you think?
I absolutely would not be surprised. In fact, I expect it to be there. Wasn't Jess, in addition to a great read, wasn't she so inspirational to talk to, Christy?
Yeah, I remember I remember the one funny thing that she said when she said, but also inspirational, that she has to wrestle the monkey in her mind.
It's a good visual, right?
Yeah, right?
Well, there's a reason she's a writing teacher as well as a writer. She talks about how she makes herself write 2,000 words a day when she's drafting a manuscript.
Oh, yes. I mean, that is something to strive for. And it's such a great episode to revisit for all the tips she gave us.
Yeah, for writers and for readers, because it's so great to listen to. Not to
Mhm.
mention, she shared box wine with us.
Absolutely. So we hope you enjoy this redux of our Corks in Conversation with Jess Lourey. I'm so pleased to be able to introduce Jess Lourey, a best-selling Agatha Anthony and Lefty Award-nominated author of crime fiction, magical realism, young adult, and nonfiction, a tenured professor of creative writing and sociology, a recipient of the Loft's Excellence in Teaching Fellowship, and a Psychology Today blogger. Jess also has an incredibly powerful TEDx talk where she speaks about the inspiration for her first published novel. And her latest release, like we said, is Unspeakable Things. And it's earned a #1 spot in the US and the UK. So, Jess, we are so happy you are available to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to drink wine with both of you. And I love hearing people read my bio because mostly I sit at home in yoga pants and eat too much and play on a computer. So I think I sound pretty fancy when I hear people talk.
You sound very good.
Yes.
Yeah. We're not picturing the yoga pants right now. We're picturing,
no.
I don't know, something much more professional. I'm sure.
Yeah. And you know what? I lied about yoga pants. It's just pajama pants.
Yoga pants are the dressed up version of the pajama pants.
Oh, gosh. Well, so before we get too much into this conversation, Cathi, you're going to have to tell us about what wine we're drinking and chose for today.
Okay, so this is great. So we always, we pair mysteries and wine. And so we always ask our authors, what do you have a favorite wine or something that's, inspired by your latest work or anything like that. And my favorite answer was Jess's to date because she picked Bodabox from Costco, which, by the way, when I saw that answer, I had it in my pantry. That's what I had in my pantry. And I was like, that's right. We're going to get along great.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I will tell you the tasting notes. So everyone get your glass and
all right.
I'm
having a sip.
Okay, so this is the Bodabox Red Volution, and it reveals rich aromas of black cherry, cocoa, and a hint of spice, extending into lush flavors of dark fruit, cherry, and toasty oak. This smooth, full-bodied wine culminates into a juicy, well-balanced finish. Just like your book. I know.
It's actually a really good wine, and you don't want it to be because it comes in a box and it's so reasonably priced at Costco, but it's really good wine.
Yeah.
It is really good wine. And I think, obviously boxed wines are much more prevalent, but I still think there's some kind of like snooty, like, oh, it's a boxed wine,
Yeah.
But like you said, it is really good.
It says right on mine, it says it's a wine enthusiast best buy or something. It's got 30 gold medals. So
That's what I want the medals in, volume.
Yeah.
how much I could drink.
Yeah. That is, I will say, that's the dangerous thing about boxed wine, though, is that, with a bottle, you clearly know how much you've drank. But with a box, it's a little more mysterious.
Well, I have to
Agreed.
tell you that I did not go to Costco. I got from my store Boda Mini. So it's a half.
I've seen those.
Yeah, so it's great for
Yeah.
Florida too, or probably anywhere, but like when we go to the beach or, anywhere where you want just something, not a big bottle of wine. So it's kind of cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it.
Well,
Love it.
I've heard that boxed wine is fresher too. That the way that they seal it up, it actually is a fresher tasting wine. So if you're somebody who doesn't drink a lot right away, it's a good way to go.
Oh, there you go. And it screws right closed.
It sure does.
Anyway.
Awesome. Well, I'm thrilled with your choice, Jess.
Yes,
I
yes.
completely,
It's
wholeheartedly
It's very
agree.
tasty. We both
It is.
definitely love reds too. So,
Oh, good. Good.
so now that we've got our wine in hand, I'm going to jump into some questions for you. Okay, so you have said, when I write, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time, and that is not a sensation to be wasted. But even though it's always satisfying, it's never easy. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, and thank you so much for choosing Unspeakable Things and reading it. I'm really, really proud of that book, and it is my 20th. It's my
Oh,
20th
wow.
book out there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, 19 of them are fiction, and then I have a how-to, a nonfiction book. So 20 books out there, and it doesn't get any easier. Every single time I sit at the computer, every single time for 15 years now, I think that I can't do it this time. And so it takes anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour to I never get there during a single session to feel like I actually know how to write a book. And so I can physically look at the books that I've written and had published,
Mhm.
but I never get that feeling. And I actually heard Charlene Harris talk once. And so you guys know Charlene Harris, right? And she wrote
Yeah.
mystery writer, romance writer, wonderful woman. At one point, she had 7 bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list at a single point.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
I know, she's wildly successful, and her series was what the Sookie Stackhouse HBO series was based on. And I heard her speak once, and she said every single book she thinks they're going to figure out that she's a fraud, that we're all going to realize she never knew how to write. And so I think it's every writer. There's just
It's
something
an
about pushing
insecurity
against that.
thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm on one hand absolutely thrilled to hear that the feeling of that fear of coming to the page and to your work in progress every day is so hard, even for people like yourself that have 20 books, because that makes me feel better. But it also makes me feel like, really, it never gets any easier.
I know, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's the price you pay, I suppose, when you're drawing without lines, right? When you're creating something that wasn't there before, I think that's the price you pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Wow, that's
so
really interesting. Christy and I were talking earlier today too about your your writing schedule, how your description that you gave it was like wrestling a monkey, and I thought that was such a great description. And how did you come up with that image of wrangling that monkey?
I think that it was when I was trying to figure out meditation, and I think it comes out of India, but the idea is that our brain is a monkey. And you have to, and within meditation, you can't wrestle them. Like, you'll never win. You'll just be wrestling a monkey. And so you're supposed to instead just let it go and not fight it. But for writing, I need to win. And so I wrestle that monkey every time. And I used to write a certain amount of time every day, let's say 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But then I would just get really sort of, I would daydream. I would do something I call research, but it was really surfing the internet.
Yeah.
And so now I have a word count. I can't, once I'm in a project, I'm, after the outlining and before the editing, I write 2,000 words a day or I don't get out of the chair.
Oh,
wow.
I'm a fast writer, but I think any
Yeah.
amount, as long as somebody has a set amount, I think words work so much better than time when you're setting goals for yourself.
So when you're editing, do you have like a page or a chapter count that you have to edit?
I do usually about 50. My books are about 300 pages long. And when I get to and I edit as I write. And so when I get done with the first draft of the manuscript, hopefully it's got the biggest problems worked out. And so when I get to that next stage of editing, it's about 50 pages a day.
Wow.
Yeah. My latest project, which is the follow-up to Unspeakable Things, though my editor did not like it. And I had to rewrite 60% of that, and that took a lot longer.
Wow.
So you're writing a follow-up to Unspeakable Things?
Sort of. It's sort of a prequel. So it's called Bloodline, and it comes out this time next year, and it's set in 1968 in the same town, and also based on a mystery that happened in Painesville, which was my hometown, and also what inspired Unspeakable Things. So it's a small town. It's got a lot of good people, and it's got a lot of freaky things that happen.
Wow.
Well, we're excited to read that then.
For sure.
And so with Unspeakable Things, this is marketed as an adult book, even though it's told from the point of view of a 12-year-old. And so I know you write both young adult and adult fiction. So how is your approach different? And was it harder to try to write adult with a young protagonist like that?
Right. And so with Unspeakable Things, it was not a book I ever intended to write. I have so many other projects that I was going to work on, but it's based on what actually happened in Painesville, Minnesota in the 80s when a series of boys were abducted and released. And it culminated in 1989 with a very famous abduction of Jacob Wetterling, who was never released. And in 2016, so not that long ago, they finally caught the guy who had done all of that in Painesville in the 80s and who had abducted, and it turned out, who had murdered Jacob Wetterling. And so when that came up in 2016, I and all of my friends who had graduated from Painesville were sort of re-traumatized. I mean, obviously not like the families or the boys who had been abducted, but just all the fear that we grew up in. And so I invited over a lot of people I graduated with, and we talked it out, and we shared our experiences of growing up in that time. And I just had to write that book, and I had to write that book from my age point of view of that time. And so it was actually really easy. It was just all the stuff I was scared of when I was 13.
I'm scared now too.
It was, I think I could have a backpack of them, because everyone I tell about it, they're like, I want to read that. I'm like, you have to. It's it's such a, I don't know. It's just, and I think in South Dakota, we're not that far from you guys in Minnesota, and that, a lot of, I'm probably very close to your age, and I grew up hearing about this. I heard about this, and I remember this still, and it's, I love your imagery also from the 1980s. It just takes us right back.
Yes.
So good.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to know what wine you guys drank for 19. Was it Ripple or Boone's Farm that you had?
No, it wasn't Boone's Farm.
It was close.
It was Sutter Home White Zin.
Well done.
I know. I Googled it, and the number one best-selling wine in 1980s was Sutter Home White Zinfandel, which, by the way, was found out by accident. The people at Sutter Home actually kind of fell into the White Zinfandel by an accident. So,
interesting.
I did not know that. We learn something new every day about wine.
It's true.
Well, you also you've written historical fiction, fantasy, women's fiction, and your fun Murder by the Month cozy mysteries.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite genre, and do you plan ahead, or do you just say, okay, today I'm going to write a fantasy, and then...
Right. My agent would love if I planned ahead and chose a genre.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because I'm really hard to market, right? And so I'm really hard to market, and I've been told that a few times, and that readers won't follow me. But my experience has been readers are really smart, and they can tell by the cover what kind of book it is, and if they don't want to read a funny cozy, they won't pick up a Murder by Month mystery. But if I have a favorite genre, I think it's magical realism, which is what my book, The Catalan Book of Secrets, was, because it's all about really powerful women and really strong relationships with just a hint of magic, like cooking magic or being able to really sense somebody's emotions, just sort of a hint of magic. And I love that stuff.
Oh, good. We'll have to read that one, Cathi. That sounds fun.
Yeah, now I'm like, next on the to be read pile.
A new podcast. Instead of mysteries, now we're talking magical realism.
I bet you both have really big to be read piles.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes. But I'm trying.
working on-
Yeah, Christie's a far more prolific reader than I am, that's for sure.
I think I have more time on my hands. And plus, if I can't sleep, like, I read your book in a day and a half or something because, I just was like, all right, I'm up all night. I got to get to the end. And I'm like, okay, good.
I love hearing that. I'm sorry it kept you up, but I'm glad it kept you up.
Yeah, it was great.
I actually lost my copy of your book because my mother already has taken it, and I already have 2 of my employees with dibs on it. So, but I will tell them to order their own copies. That's what we need to do. Everyone
There
order
you
your
go.
own.
There you go.
And I do have an epilogue up on my website too. It did not make it into the original version of the book, and that was my choice. And now I kind of regret it. I'm going to see if I can get my publisher to put it in a future edition. But yeah, there's a full epilogue that tells where everybody ended up.
Yeah, that's
So
great. We have read that too.
Yeah, and we talked about it on our episode last week, and I really found great satisfaction in that epilogue. So I can see why you want to include it now, because I really thought it was very a great culmination.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as a writer, I did not want to include it, but then I realized as a reader, I would absolutely want that in there. And so it's not my book anymore. It's out there and the world gets it. And so I should just have it in the book.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
Agreed. Okay, so Jess, this is where we like to ask our authors what we call the question in a bottle. It's just all kinds of random questions, kind of maybe the ones you might answer when you actually get to the bottle or a box of wine.
This sounds so fun. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. I've got it here. Let's see. Where is the most relaxing place you've ever been?
The most relaxing place I've ever been. I think the southwest coast of Ireland.
Oh my gosh, I was just researching Ireland today.
Were you? Which part?
Well, the whole thing. I'm planning a trip for in the fall, and I want to go. So I was like, so in Southwest. Okay, gotta go there.
Southwest. Yeah, you do want to go there. It's something about, and all of Ireland is beautiful, but there's something about the southwest corner. And I was there in August most recently, so it's the bright green of the grass, and then the sky is really low. Like there's something about the clouds, it's just really low, and so you feel like you're under a big blanket the whole time. And it's just everything is a little bit brighter, and it was super relaxing. It was just the most comfortable place on earth I've ever visited.
Oh, wow. So I'm planning on going probably around August. So I'll probably be emailing you. Can you tell me where exactly?
Yes, please do. I'm happy to share. And the people are so lovely. Like everybody treats you like your family that they like.
Oh, good.
That's an important clarification.
Yeah.
Right? Not just family, but family. Right? And
Family that you like.
Right. And they must see tourists all the time, but it just felt really genuine. And when you go pack or leave extra room in your suitcase for butter, because I've never tasted butter so good in my life.
I do get Kerry Gold at home, so
I love the image of Christy coming back with just a suitcase full of butter. That just makes me so happy.
A separate butter suitcase.
Oh gosh.
That's awesome. That is the great answer. What a great endorsement.
Yes.
For that area.
And perfect timing.
How would the two of you? How would you two answer that question? What's the most relaxing place for you two?
I have mine. My favorite place are the San Juan Islands off the coast of Washington.
Oh, I've never been.
It is absolutely my favorite place. I've been there a handful of times, and it is like I feel like I just slow down.
Oh,
It
nice.
just is that sensation of time standing still a little, more than it does regularly, and it's just a beautiful place. How about you, Christy?
Well, I'm pretty much anything like ocean related, but I guess, the most relaxing would be like Tahiti. Because I've been there before,
wow.
like on a cruise, actually a couple times because my ex was worked for a cruise line. So I got to go, and it was just mountains next to the water, and it's warm, and I don't know. And then you can go diving and see the, I like that.
Oh my gosh, they both sound amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm leading a writing retreat in Wales in May 2021 at a residential library, and it looks like Hogwarts. It looks like Hogwarts.
Oh my
inside,
gosh.
with just thousands of books and bookshelves and old oak and fireplaces and rich red velvet, and there's rooms there, so you stay in the library and you learn in the library, and they have high tea, and they have
Oh my gosh, Cathi, are you
like
just dying over there?
I am, and I'm just completely speechless because my first question is, how did you find this location?
Yeah, I belong to a lot of travel listservs because I'm always looking for new places to lead these writing retreats. And actually, I think it must have been the Huffington Post did an article on it about 4 months ago. And I thought, no way does this place exist. So I did some deep research. I checked in with people who had actually been there. I talked to the people who run it, and it's real. And so I set up 2 back-to-back retreats, and I think that's going to be my new most relaxing place.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so how did you get started in this retreat thing?
Yeah, so I am currently a full-time writing professor in Minnesota, and I put in my resignation, so I'm going to teach for 1 more year and then write full-time. But so I've been teaching for 22 years, and about 15 years ago, I got started people started asking me to lead writing workshops. And of course, I love to do it. It lined right up with the writing and the teaching, obviously. And then it sort of snowballed. And I was getting asked to teach at writing retreats. And I thought, well, I could probably just take over the whole thing.
Right.
The whole thing. Because I'm of German descent and we like to just control things. And so I did some deep diving, and I went into business with a woman who had already had established retreats, and I love it. I can only do 2 or 3 a year right now, but I absolutely love them. They're for women only, and when I lead writing workshops, everybody's welcome, but there's something about being with a group of women in a mansion or a residential library, or we were in Lake Tahoe at this beautiful villa in August. There's something about being with a group of women in an amazing space that's just so empowering.
Oh, wow. I know. I agree, too, because I have taken trips with women, but not a writing retreat. So that sounds like perfect.
Right?
I've got like all kinds of ideas going in my head now, Cathi. We're going to be doing this stuff, too. We're going to get Jess to be our writing expert, and
right?
Cathi will do the yoga, I'll do the cooking, and we'll be happy.
Yeah, I can teach the yoga. Jess, I did see that you're teaching one in St. Paul, and I used to live in St. Paul. And as a matter of fact, the book I'm working on, a good portion of it takes place on Summit Avenue. And
what?
So I might be meant to come to that writing retreat.
Right. And talk about a tax write-off. So what book are you working on? What's it about?
That's true.
I love it.
Christy and I both have works in progress. Mine is an adult thriller, and Christy's is a YA thriller. Yeah. So
nice.
I did see on your website, on the writing retreat information, you have kind of a tagline that says travel, balance, and joy. And I thought, what a cool combination. And you don't even mention writing in it. So yeah, how did that come about? Why did you pick those 3?
Because I think that in my experience, people feel intimidated at the idea of saying they're writers if they haven't published anything. That there's just something about saying, I love to write, I want to learn more about writing, that for some reason people, and I get it. I was the same way. I treated writing like a dirty habit before I got published. But then I got published, and it's like I had permission to be proud of it. So I wanted people to just understand that it was going to be very relaxed, and that every woman was welcome. into the retreats, because it is about balance. It is about feeding our joy, because I think that's where a lot of the writing comes from. So the mornings are devoted to writing, and then the afternoons are devoted to whatever people want to do. And oftentimes they form writing groups, or they'll do some sightseeing, or they'll just nap, or they'll hang out by the pool if we have a pool. And so it's not just about writing, it's about sort of feeding your whole creative soul.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And
that's absolutely beautiful.
Well, when you talked about being unpublished, like Cathi and I are trying to get published, you said on your website that you received 423 rejections before you signed your first book contract. And first, I admire your dedication.
That's such a nice way of saying, how crazy were you?
This will tell me.
I admire your dedication.
This will tell me how crazy you are. Did you count the number of rejections before or after you signed the book contract?
So it wasn't even, that was before I got an agent. There were even more rejections before I got a book contract. And it would have been back in, I want to say 2004, and it wasn't pre-internet, but it was you could query agents on the internet. And so I had to actually go to the post office. And so I just I kept track of how many envelopes went out, and that's where I had the number 423.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of stamps.
I know, right? And it was back when you had to actually lick stamps. This was some hard labor.
Yeah.
But I had a book before that I had sent. It was my master's thesis, but it was a novel, and I sent it out to 25 agents, and they all rejected it, and that would have been 1996. And so I decided this writing thing wasn't for me, right? That's too much rejection. But come 2004, when I was ready to query again, I'm like, nothing's going to stop me this time.
Well, is there any big standout piece of advice that you would give to us aspiring authors in our query process?
So I've gotten, now I get to see it from the other side, because so many of these workshops that I teach at, there's always agents there, and I always end up asking them everything, because we all want to know. So I ask them what their secrets are, and the thing really, if I had one takeaway, is that they're just really honestly good people for the most part, who want to support writers. And so it's okay to make some mistakes, right? Your query letter doesn't have to be flawless, as long as you're giving them what they're asking for. And if it's not a good fit, that's all that it means. It doesn't mean your book isn't good. It just means it's not a good fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
That's such a nice way to look at it, instead of taking it so personally. That it isn't necessarily a personal affront on your writing, or
right.
That
it's
sounds
hard,
like a little
though.
less
That's
painful
the
way.
whole author insecurity.
It is
writing insecurity stuff. So
it is so hard not to take it personally, and it's also hard to find that balance between realizing if it is you and not them.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Because then you have people saying, "Oh, keep trying," and then you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, and I hire even now that I have an editor at my publisher, I still hire a freelance editor for every single one of my projects before I send it off, even if it's under contract, so I know it's going to be accepted no matter what. I still get an editor, and that's my second piece of advice for querying, is make sure it's the best book it can be.
Now, when you say you have an editor, you have a bunch of different genres, do you have different editors for each book, or have you found one that just does everything for you?
There's a really good mystery editor in Minneapolis, Terry Bischoff. She used to be an acquisitions editor for Midnight Inc., the mystery publisher before they closed. And so I do her for my mysteries, but everything else, I have an agent out in Portland. An editor out in Portland. Mm-hmm. And she is phenomenal. She's written books about writing books, and she edits she knows the market for everything. She edits everything. She's fantastic. Her name is Jessica Morrell, Morrell, and she's on Facebook. I recommend her to everybody.
Well, great.
Wow.
That sounds wonderful. Thanks.
That's a good plug.
Yeah.
Well, Jess Lourey, we are so thrilled that we've gotten to talk to you today. This has been so fun.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
inviting me.
Oh, wait, before we go, though, we have one final question to appease all our mysterious foodies out there. Those are our listeners. We like to ask all our authors, which of your characters would you like to share a meal with, and what would it be?
Oh, that is such a great question. I have never had that question before. Can I have several answers?
Sure.
Yes.
You know, so in the Catalan Book of Secrets, one of the women is an amazing cook,
Mm-hmm.
and her name is Belda, and I would like to have a meal with her just because she's such a good cook. But otherwise, I'm going to say Mira James from the Murder by Month mysteries because she loves tater tot hot dish, and I love tater tot hot dish.
Like a good Minnesotan.
I'm bringing the low rent.
Yeah.
It's such a low rent mix that I have.
No, that's
I love
great.
it.
That's great.
It is. Oh, that's a great answer.
Tater tot.
Well, if our listeners have any more questions about your latest book or you or your writing retreats, how should they go about finding information?
I have a website at jessicalowry.com, so JESSICALOUREY.com, and I have a contact form there. Otherwise, my email is jessicalowry@gmail.com.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thanks again to best-selling author Jess Lourey. And if you haven't read her latest book, Unspeakable Things, go out and get it. It's a great read.
Right now.
Yes. And listen to our last episode for book club ideas to go with it. And now I think we can say we've enjoyed this wine, so let's say cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on today's adventure.
Subscribe to our podcast on our website, gameofbookspodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you liked what you heard, you can give us a 5-star rating or review.
You can also subscribe on YouTube, where you can watch and listen.
On gameofbookspodcast.com, you can find all the information about what we talked about on this episode. And you can sign up for our newsletter or enter our fun contests and giveaways.
We also post our stories and links on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Hope to see you there.
I can guarantee you we had fun today.
And we hope you did too.
Cheers.